And welcome everyone to this week's video tutorial. This would be the last video on the Palcorner Cannon, and it will be a continuation of the previous video of Palcorner Cannon versus pawn opening. So without further ado, let us begin. Palcorner Cannon, pawn opening, and red will develop his horse as an edge horse. And it would be natural or ideal for black to play h8 plus 7 to develop his left chariot as a left horse as a proper horse. Now, what was not mentioned in the previous video was that c8 plus 4 would not be a viable option, as black would try to attack the central pawn, because reds could simply protect the pawn and then consolidate his defenses with e3 plus 5, whereby the chariot could be developed over here. Thus, the efficiency of this move would be greatly decreased, and red could have many powerful tactical combinations to continue with. Now, if c8 plus 4 was not ideal, neither would playing c8 equals to 4 for the cross palace cannon opening. This would also not be an ideal situation, because red would develop his material, and because of the presence of the cannon over here, it will block this horse from protecting the central pawn. So in effect, there will be only one horse protecting the central pawn, which will make it rather vulnerable. Black will still play h2 plus 3. If need be, he could move his cannon away so that to protect the central pawn, but red would simply take his time to develop material, and by this time red would have the options of playing r8 plus 6 to target a horse, or c4 plus 5 if the situation arises to attack and gain material. So either way, red will be sure to make gains, and that is why the cross palace cannon is not a good idea at this point in time. So in continuation, r1 equals to 2, r9 equals to 8, and as mentioned in the previous video, in this video, red would advance his chariot across the river to attack. Now this will be the position of discussion for this video tutorial. Faced with the possible threat of r2 equals to 3, there are two main variations that were discussed. The first would be p3 plus 1, and the second would be c8 equals to 9. In variation A, p3 plus 1 was played for the double-headed snake pawns. Now, red would attack with the central cannon, screen horse defense, the horse, and this would be something of the central cannon versus double-headed snake pawns variation of the screen horse defense. I will cover this topic later on in a series dedicated to this very complicated opening system. But for now, black would advance the cannon to dislodge the chariot, forcing it to retreat, and black would solidify his defense by playing an elephant. However, instead of e7 plus 5, e3 plus 5 should have been the correct elephant to move instead of this one, as will be seen slightly later on. With e3 plus 5, black would have the option of playing r1 equals to 3, which would make a whole world of difference. Red would choose to trade pawns. It is common for black to protect his riverbank in this manner. Red will offer another trade of pawns for this very complicated situation, which will be covered in the central cannon versus double-headed snake pawns variations of the screen horse defense later on. Now, pawn p7 plus 1 is played. Red would capture and threaten the horse, forcing the cannon to move and give the chariot a free open line to move. But in this situation, because of the presence of this Palcorner cannon, red will use it very ingeniously and hit black right in the Achilles heel. With c4 plus 5, red will now threaten to capture the horse, and if it moved, the central cannon will capture the, let's say for example, if it moved, red would deliver a check and the cannon will be lost. So The only way would be for to protect this horse would be to play r1 plus 2. But unfortunately, this would become a cannon pin. And once this happened, red would develop his left chariot to threaten the cannon, forcing it to the riverbank. But unfortunately, in this situation, red would have a very powerful option of playing p7 plus 1. The elephant cannot capture the pawn or he will lose the chariot. And obviously, red would have a winning position from here on. So the only move that black can make would be try to dislodge, hoping that black would try to trade material. But of course, red would not want to do anything. He would only play p7 plus 1. And with this move, the pawn would now threaten to capture the horse and also allow the chariot to capture the cannon. So either way, black would be bound to lose material, and the presence of this pawn so early in the game, so deep into black's territory, would spell a lot of trouble for black, and red would enjoy a huge advantage. So that is why, as if we were to refer to this situation now, we will understand why Master Wenqing and Grandmaster Zhang advocated e3 plus 5, because in this, if e3 plus 5 was played, black could play r1 equals to 3 to protect the horse and not have to worry about the cannon pin. So back to variation B. c8 equals to 9 to offer a trade of chariots, which red will of course not want, and black would play e7 plus 5 to protect the horse. It would not be a good idea to go for the greenhouse defense at this point in time, because red will play p7 plus 1, and if black played c9 minus 1 to followed by attempting to play c9 equals to 7, red would have nothing to worry about, because he would have already linked up his elephants, and any potential attack by the cannon along this file would not be able to come to much fruition. And the reason for this is because in this situation, red had not played the central cannon and was able to link his elephants up. Thus, this elephant would be well protected, and red would not have to worry much about this chariot being chased all over the place. So red will obviously command the initiative. e7 plus 5, p7 plus 1, and since p7 plus 1 was played, it would not be a good idea to play h2 plus 3 anymore. So that is why black would choose to develop his right horse as an edge horse. But in doing so, black would have adopted the single horse formation and his central pawn would be weakened. So that is why red would attack with c8 equals to 5 for the central cannon. Now, usually this would be a good move, whereby black would retreat the cannon, hoping to play c9 equals to 7 for his next move. However, this would be not ideal in this particular situation. Instead, black should have played a6 plus 5. Now, another possible or better move would be to play r1 plus 1, whereby black would develop his right chariot. Now, the reason why c9 minus 1 is not good is because, again, red will make use of the Palcorner Cannon to play c4 plus 5, which is a very powerful tactic. And black cannot play c9 equals to 7 at this point, because if he did, red will simply capture the horse and gain material. And after trading cannons, this chariot would be threatening the cannon, and also the central pawn will be very vulnerable. So black would usually try to play c6 plus 4, but red will play p1 plus 1 to prevent the cannon from jumping all over the place to capture his own central pawn, and also allow for development of the horse later on. Black will usually consolidate his defenses to prevent f3 equals to 4 from happening. Red will develop his left flank, and because of the poor positioning of this cannon, red would simply charge his horse to the river, forcing the cannon away. And since there was not many good places for the cannon to move, black would usually retreat for defense. But as can be seen, red's material would now be on the go, and black's formation was rather awkward. And at this point in time, red could simply play r9 plus 1 to traverse his chariot later on and apply more pressure or to attack. There'll be many more tactical options for red to continue his game, and at this point, red will command the initiative very clearly. So this would lead us to the end of variation B. So if a quick recap, in variation A, p3 plus 1, although it would appear to be a good idea, but if the wrong elephant were moved, it will result in a huge advantage for red. And the formation, black's formation will become very shaky, all because of the presence of the Palcorner Cannon. Thus, red's Palcorner Cannon would be a very efficient move. In variation B, after trading, offering a trade of material would also appear to not to be a very good idea, because if red played correctly, his aggression of attacking the central pawn will come to fruition. Thus, r2 plus 6 will appear to be a better option than playing r2 plus 4 if we were to compare this video and the last video. So, a quick recap with of the board with the colors from the eyes of black. Okay. Central cannon, Palcorner cannon, pawn, and r2 plus 6. In variation A, b3 plus 1 was played, and red would attack with the central cannon. Xqinenglish defense, dislodge, pawn exchange, and again the brilliant c4 plus 5 move by red, hitting black right where it hurt most. And red would gain a huge advantage and be prepared and would most probably win. In variation B, c8 equals to 9 to offer a trade of chariots would be refuted. Black would defend, which is okay thus far. Pawn, and because black had moved his horse to the edge file, the central pawn was weakened, and black would counter with the central cannon. A miscalculation by black, forgetting about red's c4 plus 5, and all hell will break loose. So after trading material, red would continue to develop his material in a very natural manner, chasing the cannon, forcing it to retreat, and allow for more development of the other pieces. So red would have the initiative. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you.